How did I get here? Well, let's do the 2-minute version. Sports were always a huge part of my life as a kid. Literally playing from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, with the only exception being if I was in school. Like most kids, I wanted to be a professional athlete. Fast forward to 18, I'm in college. Sports had kind of taken a back seat to electronic music. I was going to lots of raves and festivals, and like I said, sport was always there. I can remember waking up after maybe an hour of sleep at a festival, and there I go, running around the festival grounds, getting a run in or something of that nature. Sometime around here, I decided to leave college and just go see the world by myself. I would save up money for 4 or 5 months, buy a one-way ticket to a place like Southeast Asia or South America or Europe or even just around the States. Dirtbag style, tent, backpack, lots of hiking, running, climbing, cycling, really just adventure. I was into the adventure, and if I happened to find myself in a city at night, I'd be out, dance parties, and seeing electronic music. It's wild for me to think that I didn't have a cell phone until I was 26, and I was a very late adopter of the smartphone. Thinking back to spending all those months in different countries around the world with nothing but an ATM card and the occasional phone card to call mom and tell her I was still alive. Good Lord, my poor mother. Mom, I love you. Sorry about that. And I remember to fund a few of these trips. One thing I was doing was I was playing professional poker in Las Vegas, making lots of money, spending lots of money. And I remember leaving Las Vegas for the second time thinking, I just can't come back here. The pendulum had swung, and it was more favored towards music and party than it was sport, and it wasn't the life that I wanted to lead. I traveled down to South America around 2008 or 2009, and the whole trip was just going to be, I was going south to Patagonia, and I was going to spend 6 or 8 months in the Andes, a few days in this city or that city, again, just kind of doing sport and enjoying life. Running quickly escalated during this trip from a few hours a week up to, 15 or 20 hours a week. I'd go out for a big day, not knowing what I was getting myself into, back to my tent or my hostel, and I'd be absolutely wrecked. And I loved it. I had a little bit of background in ultra sports because some of these trips I talked about were really long self-supported bike rides, anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000 miles with tent and cooking gear and everything in tow. But running all day, that was new to me. After that trip, I entered my first race and sort of had immediate success. In my second year of ultra running back in 2011, I qualified for the U.S. Track and Field 24-hour national team. By 2015, I went to my first coaching conference, and shortly thereafter, the Run Faster business was born. And now I've been in the trail and ultra space for over 15 years. Wow, saying that makes me feel old. So here we are, today, 44 years old. I got a beautiful partner. I got an old-ass dog. Shabam! I'm literally living my dream, the dream I had as a kid to be in the professional sports world. I feel like I am the luckiest guy in the world. I don't know how I got here. Well, I just told you how I got here, but that was a very roundabout way of getting into this space. Life is weird, man.
I hated running. Absolutely despised it. I was always the slowest, the clumsiest, and usually the tallest, which made it just even more awkward for me growing up. Though I will say I did enjoy sports, but I only picked the ones with the least amount of running. Soccer, but I was the goalie, and rowing because you got to sit in a boat. Growing up, I also never really learned how to have a healthy relationship with food. It was always a reward in my eyes, and I only wanted more of it. But whenever I'd have too much, then it became a punishment by eating as little as I could, or a restriction, seeing how long I could go without it. Then I went to college. Well, art school, the Savannah College of Art and Design, where I learned how to be a creative in the wild world of advertising, and also learned how to party, eat more, and put my health at the very bottom of the priorities list. See, I grew up around addiction, which I think affected me in a lot of ways, which I'm still trying to figure out. But I have figured out that I can easily pick up addictions too. But for me, that was food. In 2011, I packed 2 suitcases and moved to Chicago, where I had an internship waiting for me at this big, fancy ad agency. It was my dream, my ultimate big city girl dream. Or at least that was my dream at the time. I remember one day my friend asked if I wanted to meet them for brunch, and of course, yes. He says, let's walk there. I say, cool. So I quickly go to Yelp to see where this place is, and I realize it's 1 mile away. There's absolutely no way I can walk there. It'd be way too painful. I'd get to brunch a sweaty mess, just can't do it. And I'd never felt so limited in what I could do in that moment, which was the exact opposite of why I moved to the big city. I wanted to achieve it all. So shortly after then, I convinced myself if I can conquer running, this simple movement I absolutely despised, then I could go back to feeling like I could conquer anything. I started small, with just running around the block without stopping. And after some time, I did it. Then 1 mile, 2 miles, 4 miles. It all happened kind of fast, really. Before you knew it, I was able to run 13.1 miles around my neighborhood. I remember one day I was standing on the L platform and had the Red Eye newspaper in my hand. The cover was talking about Chicago Marathon, and I thought to myself, there's absolutely no way I could do that. And then I immediately went online and looked up everything I could about how to run a marathon. I found a way through this charity called Team Pause, and in 2016, I ran the Chicago Marathon. It was my first race ever, actually. I had no idea how to put a bib on or what fueling was, but I did it, and I loved every single step. And then, I really believe that's where it ended, you know? You run a marathon, and you did it, done. But then I discovered 100-mile trail races, specifically the Western States 100, and was absolutely floored this was an actual thing. And just like with Chicago, I immediately went online and looked up everything I needed to know to run 100 miles on trails. Keeping up with this new lifestyle became a little harder to do in the big city, and after losing 200 pounds, I felt like I had this whole new life in front of me, just waiting to be grabbed by the horns. Moving completely across the country wasn't all that new to me, so I packed everything again and moved my dog, Cloudy, and I all the way to Arizona to unleash these new passions and see how much farther they could take me. Since moving here, so much has happened. I've run a 240 miler, a 250 miler, set a 247-ish mile FKT, and completely changed careers. And now I'm the proud owner of my own run coaching business. Oh, and I met my soulmate, Scott. I guess that part is pretty important. But yeah, here we are, living and breathing this outdoor life, enjoying all the places our bodies can take us to, and setting some big scary goals along the way. And if you're interested in coming along for the ride, well, we'd love to have you. We are Scott and Callie, and we are Trailies.